No.
And that is a human problem. That is not a reality problem. And unfortunately, we have been conditioned to believe in a dream. And that dream is your white picket fence in your house or your apartment, if you're a little more modern. And, kids, family, and life's going to be rosy and grand. And you're going to have a nice career, and then you'll retire and you'll go skip off to the beach. And it's just not that way anymore. Nobody has those types of careers, or some people do, I should say, but most people don't, a vast majority. In
You mean a
reality,
lifelong career of one thing? You mean?
yeah, exactly. It's just, we are in a
Yeah.
constant state of change, and jobs are going to be very disrupted now by this technological change. And I think for people to walk into the door and assume that the things are going to be the same or that they can resist the change is a huge mistake. I think they should just walk in the door and assume that things may change. And if they do, I'm going to assess it and adapt accordingly as it makes most sense for whatever my personal or my work mission might be.
Geoff, welcome to the
Steven.
show. Yeah. I know everyone's listening. You're like, why are they all giggling? We've known each
We
other
know
a long
each
time.
other.
A long time. Been through a lot of booms and busts, a lot of cycles, seen a lot of things. This is being recorded on March 4th. The world's changed a lot in the last week or two since we talked. Sure, we'll kind of touch on journeys, but I think always what I start with journeys, it's always the way to go. Some in the audience may know you, many may not. And you've been on quite a ride, advertising, social media, your company, your cognitive path, So what's been your journey, and kind of want to get a kind of a through line of the whole thing?
Yeah, I think maybe, and it's a great question, and I was thinking about this. I definitely think maybe the through line is I'm a storyteller. And I mean, even today when I'm talking about AI, I'm trying to describe it and make it relatable to people through Substack and back with Cognitive Path when we had a podcast, and, really kind of relate and walk people through this stuff and provide analogies and help make it easier for people to use it and to set down the fear. But even in the beginning, when I really came out of college, I was a journalist. My dad was a journalist. My mom was a columnist. I had my great uncle wrote books, and a lot of artists in the family. So this ability to kind of communicate, maybe not well, but to communicate has been something that's been a through line. So I kind of understand media. I've really focused a lot on digital media. Even my master's degree is in communications, culture, and technology. I've been in the technology trade industry since my first job, which was a long time ago, 3 decades ago. And so it's always been storytelling and making it relatable, and usually technology related.
I think storytelling is just more important than ever, because all the slop that can come out of AI, the real ability to tell narrative and make it, human, is just, the authenticity of it is more important than ever. Just almost the analog of it all, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny, we're at this phase right now. I've gotten into a place where I don't always talk about marketing. In fact, I don't probably talk about it enough. And I used to be a chief marketing officer, and the bulk of my career was in marketing functions.
Yeah.
But marketing is lost right now, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is there's so much focus on campaign and content and this whole slop dialogue and the over-reliance on slop. I think from my standpoint, it's a huge enterprise failure. And what I mean by that is, if you think about what really resonates with people that buy, and marketing's job is to help people to buy or to make a decision or to co-affiliate with something. This stuff doesn't relate to the customer, right? And I feel like a lot of this whole dialogue is just jumped the shark with AI and marketing and about content creation. It's got to get back to the North Star, which is customers and the way they resonate. And I feel like the way AI best helps marketing isn't with content, rather it's understanding the customer journey. And when they can get to that, I think things will change for the better for marketing. But right now, this is ugly.
Yeah, I think about the speed of slop. I call it. So there's almost like this race to throw things up, like throwing things against a wall. Now, look, as a product designer, like someone who builds a lot of things, there's a power in it. Obviously, things like space satellites, you have to, kind of get it right. You don't have to kind of iterate on things, but you learn from the mistakes, you improve on things. And there's almost like this speed of just, I have to put it up there, and then everyone's doing the same thing. And there's no chance to have craft. There's no chance to have quality. I worry that's disappearing a lot,
Oh, definitely.
rapidly.
And you look at the leaders in the conversation right now, they're doing the same thing. Like I literally just have one land in my inbox. It was a top marketing influencer, marketing AI influencer. And they were literally one word line sentences, right? Classic tell for AI. And the thing was so long that it
Yeah.
definitely looked like AI had generated it, because I don't think anybody in their right mind that's a marketer, a communicator, even any other kind of a technical writer that's trying to help people use something would send something that long to people. It made me
Yes.
wonder what they were thinking, and I don't think they did. I think they went on autopilot.
Yeah, when I write essays on like future proof newsletter, I think for me, I've also had to shorten them. I've been told like 1,800 words because I like to write. Writing's probably my strongest skill of all the
Yeah.
things that I can do. And I feel like it's the thing I love. And
I write long too, by the way. I write these 1,500 word Substacks, but at least
what
people know it's
I
me.
Yeah, and this is where you and I have talked, and we're going to get into more of the humans plus AI thing, right? It's like the human quality of it. Like if I have a collection of things that I've written, it knows at least my voice and my style, right? It's like, okay, if you look at something, can it help me edit it? The challenge I have sometimes is just grammar, run on sentences, conciseness, being pithy,
We're the
making it
same.
helpful. Well, I think AI can really help with that. But the thing is, you also have to be careful is, does it take out the essence of you? If it's just is it strip out you? I think a lot of people don't recognize that the edit it might do, you might take it too far.
Right.
And I think that's another peril that we might have to face. We're facing now, but I think more so as time goes on and the content we create, is it learning from just already other created AI content? What's the point in which the human creation has stopped, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I put up an Instagram post recently where I actually had the AI write the caption, but I directed specifically what it wanted, which you're supposed to do, right? And then I probably spent like 7 or 8 iterations editing it. And I think like that's really the difference. It wasn't my voice. I would say anybody that knows me probably knows it was more eloquent than I could be.
Yeah.
But it got the message through and it said exactly what I wanted to say. And it was from me. And that was what mattered to me. When I wrote the book I think we're going to talk a little bit about today, but
yeah, no, we're definitely going to talk about the book. Oh yeah. That's a big part of, yeah.
I used AI as a developmental editor. Like you, I have a nice vocabulary according to Grammarly. I write a ton of words. And then from a proficiency standpoint, I'm a butcher. And I really need that kind of developmental support. I'm much more of
fix my run-on sentences, fix my
typos and bad analogies and using the same word twice.
Participles. Yeah, dangling participle. Yeah, no, I hear it. And I think that's been good for me in terms of language. I was thinking of our conversation to prepare for this. You said something that was really funny. It's like, it's never good to be early. I mean, you were talking about AI and advertising. I remember I wasn't in the AI game at all. And I remember, you were probably talking about it. So I was going to say 6 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were talking about it and it's like, I always, as a futurist, so many people have called themselves, but you're kind of like living in the future. So like, what's that like?
Painful.
Painful. Yeah, that's the thing. I started an air taxi company 20 years before I should have started it. That's the peril of being a futurist and being an entrepreneur. It's like not a good mix. But speaking of change and the never-ending change, the book. So this is where this has been fascinating to me because, like Super Shifts talked about the systemic change, the age of intelligence. It talked about all these things that were coming. So many conversations I have with people is like, it used to be, and I use this analogy, and sorry for the listeners if you heard it before, is like the Windows application designer in 97, you were making a lot of money. You were doing great. If you were not doing, by 2002, if you were not doing websites in like knowing HTML and CSS, you're probably not going to find a job. So with that, it's like, but you had time to change, right? It's like UX in the design space, you had time, you saw things were coming. There was time to make the change, make the transition. Now it's so visceral. It's so fast. It's on, and it's like, is it ever going to stop? And your book is about dealing with this never-ending change. So I'll let you kind of like frame it. I just want to kind of frame that up, but like what triggered it to why writing this now?
Ooh,
yeah.
Let's go back to 2018 and
okay.
Why this book and not the book that I wrote then about AI, which was Welcome to the Machine. It never saw the light of day. I still have the draft material. I actually put it into an LLM to query against Once Upon a Time when LLMs first came out, or first became popular thanks to the now dying ChatGPT, this week's news. I mean, like, look how quickly that happened, right? I mean, something that was being used by 400 million people is just dying on the vine. It's crazy. That may stop.
Can you expand on that? Because a lot of people I don't think know this.
Right. Yeah. So like Anthropic and got into it with the Department of War over ethics. Both these companies supposedly have great ethical missions. And the reality of Anthropic's decision was that they said, hey, we're not going to use our technology to allow you to engage in surveillance of the United States population. And we're also not going to allow you to automate weapons to kill people. Like fully automated weapons because of this is the whole Terminator scenario, right? Where you have a self-autonomous AI go crazy. And OpenAI said that they support Anthropic. And by the way, Anthropic's a bunch of people who left OpenAI because they thought that they were unethical. And OpenAI.
Well, so did Elon. Elon, yeah. He was like, what's going, yeah, no, absolutely.
OpenAI cut a deal with the Department of War on the backside to do exactly what they said they support Anthropic not doing. And it looks super slim shady. Over the weekend that just passed, ChatGPT deletions on the iPhone went down were increased by 300%, and Anthropic picked up all the customers, it looks like, on Claude. And I just saw a statistic today showing Claude at now 50% saturation for downloads on a day-by-day basis for AI apps. It's the number one AI app in the App Store.
And I'm seeing multiple posts on how to migrate your ChatGPT memory and data over to Claude.
Yep.
There's a lot of people are doing videos. People are doing like, here's how to, you've invested all this time and treasure. How do you move it over into Claude? And I subscribe to both. I use them they have different skills. Yeah, we could get onto a whole other show of, the pros and cons of all the different tools, right? But what does it mean though, right? What does it mean for companies that will be ethical, but the ones that won't are the ones that seem to be getting ahead? I just keep thinking of Google. Google used to have "Don't be evil" on their site, and that kind of disappeared quietly into the night one point.
Of the three big AI companies right now, from a generative AI standpoint, Google's going to be the one to watch because we already know what happened with OpenAI, and then we know where Anthropic stands, and Google's kind of in the middle, and they're dealing with an internal revolution with their engineers who are saying, don't do this. It's really fascinating to see. I suspect, though, to your illusion that we're just going to see some companies decide to do this, and we'll never really know about it, like the Palantirs of the world, Yeah.
That's a part of me that I put this out there that I think in the end, Palantir, if OpenAI is struggling with memberships and they're struggling with that Palantir, imagine Palantir buying OpenAI. Very possible. Or one or the other. Right.
Them or Microsoft. I mean, they're definitely starting to look like a mercy kill, particularly with all that investment. People are going to watch some sort of a return.
Right, exactly. Well, it's like, so with the book, it's this never-ending change.
Right. So how do we deal with that? Right. Like, look at even the news we just talked about.
You say it's not a crisis to survive, right? It's like everyone's like, we've got to get through this hump, because people will talk a lot. I've talked a lot about, winter period crisis, all the, fourth turning, all those, what is this cycle when we move through it? I mean, we are essentially like, I think we've already started World War III. That's my own opinion. I think it started a year ago. I mean, they would technically say a world war is on 3 fronts. We've already got 2. So it's like, okay, now if that is going to at some point change in the world, anything is like a multipolar world, okay, people will think we're done. It's going to get quiet. I don't think it's the case. You call it a permanent operating condition. Like,
if you think about it, we have been in this condition anyway. It's just accelerating faster and faster. And I think AI is a big accelerant of that. If quantum computing ever becomes a reality, let's get down to the next tech trend, then it's going to move even faster, right? And here's the thing. The resistance to change comes from a belief that things should be as they are, or a level of comfort that things are the way they should be. And that is a human problem. That is not a reality problem. And unfortunately, we have been conditioned to believe in a dream. And that dream is your white picket fence in your house or your apartment, if you're a little more modern. And, kids, family, and life's going to be rosy and grand. And you're going to have a nice career, and then you'll retire and you'll go skip off to the beach. And it's just not that way anymore. Nobody has those types of careers, or some people do, I should say, but most people don't, a vast majority. In reality,
a lifelong career of one thing, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, we are in a constant state of change. and jobs are going to be very disrupted now by this technological change. And I think for people to walk into the door and assume that the things are going to be the same or that they can resist the change is a huge mistake. I think they should just walk in the door and assume that things may change. And if they do, I'm going to assess it and adapt accordingly as it makes most sense for whatever my personal or my work mission might be.
Yeah, I talked about in Future Proof last week, I talked about reinvention as a constant practice. It's like this conversation kind of inspired because I talk a lot about the reinvention of, especially in a Gen X world, we're kind of always the forgotten generation in every cycle. It's like our nomad. We're called the nomad generation, but it's that in between kind of left, but we're the ones that fix things. We fix what's broken. But I think about this time, it's like, you don't really fix this. I worry about the mental state. And I think, you touch upon that too in the book, is that you can have change and you can adapt to change, but also since COVID too, we've become much more insular, inclusive is not the right word, insular, isolated, preferentially we want to isolate, but it's like, it's because of the compressed change, because of the uncertainty. What do you see with the mental health dimension of this change?
Well, I think it's related, and it's related to a fixed mentality where you think things should be something. And so when it changes, it's disturbing. And, I never expected to be looking at Claude Cowork, for example, this year as such a big disruptive technology. Nobody saw that coming. And it's brilliant. And people were like,
I'm not a coder and I've used Claude Code. And now it's like Claude Cowork. I'm like, I can build my own executive assistant, my own chief of staff. It's like,
it's very helpful, right? And, I mean, you would get this as a product guy. The way I see Cowork is I look at LLMs as having a product problem. And the product problem is that you slapped a chat box out on this technology and said, figure it out.
Yes.
That's why people struggle with AI, because it doesn't have the context, e.g. the data, and it doesn't have the specificity with directions and outputs to get the result. So if you look at Claude Cowork, connectors, I got my data now, and I've made it easy for you to access it. So just tell me to access it. And B, now I've got all my plugins and skills that you can actually add to if you want to, which most people won't, but you can add plugins and skills. And now I have directions to achieve what you want. So it actually resolved a lot of the user interface challenges that people were having with LLMs. I mean, to me, it was like a natural product evolution that needed to happen and finally did after 2.5 years, 3 years.
Yeah, what's changing in design is that a lot of designers, if you think about traditionally, when you design products or experiences, it's very linear, right?
Yes.
It's like it goes from one step to the next, right? Buy online, it's a mental model of like 10 steps if you do these things. Now, AI becomes a probabilistic design challenge. It's not just user journeys. There's multiple branching and pathways. The chatbot is just the open field, like you said, just figure it out, because it leaves it open for space. But if you have to contextually change what you're going to see, and this is the design challenge, is that an application will actually have to redesign itself on the fly.
Well, I think it's brilliant. So this is like where I go liquid on you, okay?
Yeah, no.
So here's why. Like, remember when I used to rant all the time about personal branding being the stupidest thing on earth? And I still feel that way.
These people that have podcasts of their own and shows. And
like, Geoff can't be a photographer. Geoff can't be a writer. He can't be a marketer. You got to be one. You can't be all these things. Like, come on, I'm a human being, right? I do multiple things. And to me, that's the problem with social networking, the way we're built. Even the way these products are built, the linear that you were talking about. Look at all these wrapper companies, these companies that put a wrapper around their AI, like legal AI, right? Yeah, I've got the legal database here and I know how to write a court summons and this and that and that. Okay, well, now Claude Code can do that with its MCP and its access to the database, and then it can also do it with its legal skill set. And well, that wrapper company is dead now. And the reason why it's so useful, and I think it's brilliant, is because the flexibility of the LLM to address different skills and needs matches humanity's needs to move into different things and different topics. E.g., you're not a personal brand as an entrepreneur. You do different tasks. I'm sure, Stephen, you do accounting work. I'm sure you never want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I have a degree in accounting actually, and it's like, but I do my books or I do things that are just there. I think when you talk about there's two phrases. There's the liquid attitude.
Yeah.
Right. There's
Liquid.
the flexibility and the fluidity of the practice of that, because who you are at the moment may be 5 different things. And I talk about this with foresight. I have a framework I call spectrum, because it used to be that scenarios were very reductive. It was like everything's transformation, everything's, collapsed. Is that people exist? There's people that are existing in a possible future where some people are experiencing collapse or some people are experiencing transformation. And it's like they have to be adjusting to that future. And it's like, what does it look like to have this kind of fluidity in practice? What is it? How do people get it? Where do people get it wrong when they try it?
Well, it's the jack of all trades and master of none problem, right?
I worked for McKinsey. That's true. It's the generalist. Yes.
Everybody's a generalist now.
Everybody's a generalist.
Yeah. And I think, and you've talked about this too, as a solopreneur or as a small business, that's really great, but as in a large enterprise, that can be very challenging. And I think the best practitioners in an area in any particular field are going to be the ones that we need in the roles of experts, basically reviewing these AI outputs because we know that they're problematic. So as a writer or as a product designer, okay, thank you for that, Claude. Now let me take a look at this and see where the holes are so we can get this thing to market and make it useful and not antagonistic to our customers. Yeah. I mean, and so I think what happens is you could probably get away with basic tasks, but sooner or later, if like you get into real legal trouble, Claude, it's not going to save you. You're going to have to hire a lawyer.
Well, it's funny you bring up legal.
You're getting sued?
The place I worked. Yeah, no, I worked in a place where it's, they do e-discovery, whereas bringing in all the data and they can analyze that. But the actual output of the lawyer, the attorney needs to be there. You can request information, but in terms of decision making, there's, I always talk about, can a AI do design? I mean, Midjourney or places like that learn on other artists. It's not creating something that's never been seen. It's learning from other things. And there's a level of empathy and EQ that doesn't exist in these systems, thankfully. Well, right. I don't know if that's maybe good or bad.
It'll never get better. I mean, it raises the bottom.
How it views humanity, right? It's like, we're a tribal mess and we need to save them from themselves. But, the change that's happening right now, it's so compressed. It's like, I do wonder if things like Claude Cowork or other things are agents that are going to do more automation work. There's this gap of just crazy transition. But again, it's not going to be like reset itself for a decade like it did before. Like it's just, okay, maybe you get some breathing room, but probably not.
Probably not.
So how does somebody build mental muscles for this? Like, burnout? Because I feel the burnout. I'm sure a lot of people listening have experienced this or maybe experiencing it right now.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's again, getting back to that thing, like I have my North Star, which is my vision for what I'm supposed to be doing, either as a person or my role within a larger context, usually an organization. So rather than get vested on Claude Cowork being, let's use this as our continuing example.
Our threaded example.
Right. Let's say Google releases Notebook LM on steroids with plugins and connectors and then everything else. And now you can not only have Claude Cowork functionality, but you can also do it with your own little private LLM. And now you don't need to build a private instance anymore at all. Well, okay, am I going to have a hard time with that? Or am I just going to move my stuff over to LLM, to Google Notebook LM? I'm going to move to Google Notebook LM and I'm not going to think twice about it. I mean, we have to have an attitude about these tools and these methods that they're disposable. And if we have that attitude, like we're not vested in them being our long-term answer. Too much of this is like around traditional procurement and decision-making and, where you get vested and this is the answer. This is my laptop. It is my laptop for 5 years. Maybe so, but that doesn't have to be true of your AI software.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to watch this innovation battle because obviously it's a feature function fight for what happens when they all go public, what happens when they all, divest into, certain things. But like you said, we talk about the ROI of it. I think it's been a very eye-opening and not surprising to me. I look at innovation with experiment dollars that people have just tried. You try things, you experiment, right? You put things through a pipeline and portfolio and they make it the way through, and sometimes they get cut off or they get canceled, and you learn from that, and then you move it into like, okay, we've tried all these things,
right?
these aren't, but let's move it into production. And that's where we're at. But the realization that a lot of things just don't, you can cut all the people you want, but it's not really producing what you think is this, transformation. It can be a cost. It can be a force multiplier, which is why I'm like, why are you laying all these people off? If AI is like, do it to empower these people to be better producers, right?
What do you think of Block laying off half of its staff?
I think it's short-sighted. I think
it was driven. I think it was an AI.
What's that?
I think it was an AI, but he blamed AI, right?
Yeah. You mean the AI said to lay 4,000 people off? Or
yeah.
Is that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, using it as an analysis, I think it's a question of, if you use agentic technology and you replace a lot of customers, it's just, you can't do it that way without affecting, one, the morale of the people that are left. And then they're always going to be looking over their shoulder. I experience this at large tech companies because it's like every 6 months they're trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic.
I've experienced that as a marketer too.
Yeah. And it's like, you're always looking over your shoulder. You don't have you're like, maybe I just need to find another job. You're one half of your body's out the door. And I think that the companies that are like Block that are doing this, I think they're going to come back and realize they just need to rehire people. But maybe I think it's just a position for shareholders. I think it's just positioning.
It's theater.
Really,
yeah,
it is theater. That's
totally.
It's a great phrase. It's a great way to say it. What do you think adoption looks like in the future of work? It's kind of the future of work discussion, right? You've talked about, and not only just the advertising space, but like, what does it look like? What do you think it looks like? You talked about this temporariness, like, look at the disposability of that. How does that
me like
yeah,
I mean, the real value of AI has always been pattern recognition, right? And right. Even when you look at what we've been discussing with images, for example, in Midjourney, it's good to a point because it recognizes a pattern of what somebody that's bald with glasses is supposed to look like, right? So it can produce a bald guy with glasses pretty easily, but there's going to come a point where it doesn't feel like it has a soul. Pattern recognition is what we need throughout work so that we can look at probabilistic decision making and also to eliminate tasks that are basically zero-sum yes-no actions. Like, for example, importing your receipts for accounting, right? Like things that are very rote and painful. So to me, it's about operationalizing. I can speak English, I swear, AI into our work. And so I think the real failures that I've seen is this, hey, we're going to buy everybody Gemini, use it, good luck. As opposed to, hey, we have to really look at our customer journey and see how we're analyzing it, where the data sources are, how we can unify that, or how we can get it into a place where at least something can start looking at the drop points and the consistencies of failures and looking at that pattern and improving our journey. And to me, that's the type of dialogue that impacts sales, it impacts product design, it impacts marketing, it impacts customer service, impacts legal and finance because they have to conduct a transaction and also maintain the relationship within a bound for the customer and for the company. So there's so many aspects of the business or any organization that touches that journey. And yet we just continue to miss that point where this is where this type of technology can really help us be better organizations. That's the future.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think about, it makes me think about like my nephews are in their mid-20s, like trying to get a job has been like really hard. And I think about those who have been born, say they're 25 years old right now. They were born after 9/11. They've known nothing but just disruptive, crazy change, just this chaos for the last 25 years. Like, and it's like they say there's no more entry-level jobs. I just think the entry-level framing is just changed.
Yeah, I agree.
You have to redefine. It's like we're not hiring abacus users. We're hiring, people that are digital, financial analysts. It's like it's just it's the nature of it. And I think saying that like the entry-level jobs are gone, it's just maybe the kids have trained for certain things for the last couple of years, or they're just like, I'm just going to be a influencer or a content creator. The influencer thing.
God help them.
Always just like,
I want to be famous on Instagram. Shoot me now.
Yeah, I know. So, look, I'm a content creator. Look, I'm creating content for our audience, right? But you and I have the benefit of more decades seeing other cycles or patterns. what do you think people that are going through this, like someone's 25, like what skills should they really kind of, and on the future, I think about future proof, but it's like the change is so visceral. What advice would you give somebody?
Well, I look at somebody that's coming out of school now, and like instead of learning how to code, I would learn how to manage these tools and how to help organizations move data seamlessly through them, and like to understand when they're underperforming, to understand when there's a security challenge. I mean, to me, that's the fail from the technology sector side, where they haven't really come up with this new role. And that role is like,
I have a name for it.
It's operation, right?
I call it orchestrator. It's an orchestrator job because you're like the conductor,
right?
If you move all these things to get forget the prompt engineer or this or that, that's a piece of it, but it's like the design director, right? You've got to have your visual people, your researchers, your interact. You got to have all these different people to come together at different points to do different things. The same thing with the tools or the people. To me, it's like if you told somebody 30 years ago, like, okay, what's a web designer? What's a mobile, like there's roles. I agree. I think it's an orchestrator job.
Right. It's not a chief AI officer either, right? Like that's also a fail. Like that's like, come on, that's your CTO that's not doing his job.
Exactly. Because that's the person that's looking at they're looking at edge technology. They're looking at integration into the innovation process, right?
I mean, talk about a fail. Yeah. Like look at the CTOs and CIOs are completely missing this thing. It's like, my God, what are you doing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Little mini.
But the advice of that, I think it's great. I think the thing that knowing you all these years, I think the thing that always brings me to mind is when I see photos like you're a marathoner, right? Yeah. You've also kind of, when you talk about being that storyteller, going back to the beginning of this conversation, I see you as kind of a journeyman. Like you take these are all things you have to continually, you'll never finish, or you have to continually go on this. And, you said marathons, they teach you to endure.
They do. I actually just did an ultra marathon this weekend. It's crazy.
God bless you, man. I'm going for the half this year. I did for the 10K. I'm going for the half this year.
I love it. You run 5 minutes, you're a runner, my man.
I love I'm as much as I love the mountains and snowboarding, I am definitely ready for like streets to be cleared so I could run outside. I miss that. So, I mean, think about that. Like, the discipline, how is that kind of discipline shaped the way you navigate? Like you look at disruption, you navigate, you can navigate things like this because it's a mindset. I mean, being a marathoner is definitely, I think, more mindset sometimes than physical. So
yeah, it's funny because I was going through this race this past weekend, and just thinking about your question and applying it to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're talking about these changes that are happening this week, and I'm sure you're reading some of the same stuff. Very dramatic, very dramatic. And the marathoner in me looks at that and says, okay, I'm not going to overreact either. I'm going to be liquid about this. I personally deleted ChatGPT off my phone and Sora off my phone. It was my third LLM anyway. I have obviously a lot of these because of the nature of my business, but it wasn't a big deal deleting it because my systems were everywhere else. So to me, I'm like, okay. And then there's the content creator side of it. As an AI advisor, do I put out anything about ChatGPT and removing it off your phone? And I thought to myself, I don't think this is a big story in the long term. I think this is just, basically, I like black cars instead of white cars, or gray cars instead of blue cars. Because when you look at these LLMs, they've all gotten to a point where they're pretty good, right? And they've all kind of hit a certain level of performance, particularly the big three. So if you're going from ChatGPT to Gemini, I don't think what I'm going to teach you is going to change that much. So to me, it doesn't matter. I need to be tool agnostic. So no, I'm not going to write about this.
I think it's going to be branding, because it's just what popped into my head was like, think about fast food, right? It's like McDonald's, Burger King, all these different brands. It's like they all have cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
But why do you go? Because it's grilled, or it's, tastes different. It's got the like, or you don't even want that. You want Chick-fil-A. You want, I just want a chicken sandwich. But it's like, it's the branding of like what makes these things unique. I think I see them, Gene. And for me, I like Claude. Claude's a better writer. Claude's definitely building itself a suite with co-work, code. It's building itself into a tool. It needs to fix its context window.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I need to load more stuff. Like if you really want me to make this powerful, you need to give me more. Like I need to, don't limit me to 20 files or this or that. Like I have to build. I think the ones eventually they keep
That's
fighting each
Notebook
other.
right now, right? I mean, to me,
Right. That's
Notebook had
Notebook.
right.
That's right. Exactly. And it's like you look, Gemini's got a monster context window and can really crank on stuff. And it's like eventually they find parity, then it's always that what next. But I think you're right. I think there'll be brand affinity. They'll be like, I just want to use it because it uses with all my things together. And I think that'll happen. But again, in the end, like it'll be a constant, like you said, the disposability. But I think young people just need to understand that it's just things I continually learn, I continually add, and I have to have fluency.
And from a think liquid standpoint, if you think about what we just went through, okay, so this is the change this month, right? This is the big
Oh yeah.
move, right? Okay. So then we'll move our stuff because we want to protect our security or we won't. And maybe we don't care if they're working with DOD. I mean, I guarantee you or DOW. Um, I guarantee you there are a ton of people around Washington, D.C. right now where I live. They don't care. And they're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And that's fine too. I mean, it's less of an issue if you have this view that, yeah, things do change. And so this is a change. And, I don't have to overreact to it. It just is.
Well, it makes me think about whether this end of cycle of global change or AI change, like let's put the futurist hats on. Let's kind of, as we kind of get to the kind of closing things out, like what's a bold, and as futurists, we don't predict, right? We look at possible futures, but if there's like a thing that's going to, for you in the next 5 years, like what should people be really preparing for? Like if they have it, they're like, okay, here I am. What do I do? Help me prepare. What would you recommend?
With AI or just generally?
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, I really think social networking's in its zenith. And
Oh, you do?
I do. I
Yeah.
really feel like, you're starting to see these apps starting to pop up, like the Brick app and the Be Present app, and people complaining about the toxicity of them, the lawsuits, the challenges. So I do see like that there has to be some sort of a next evolution in this if it's going to keep going. And
Yes.
so I do suspect we're probably looking at some sort of a big change with humanity and the way we interact with each other. I also think that in the same context, for the same topic, it's created a lot of societal fabric issues that we're experiencing
Yes.
without getting into it. And I don't think people are happy about it. So I just think that there's enough negative equity building up that there's a dam that's going to break. And that's really where I see a futurist movement happening. I do think the other big change that we kind of danced around is that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out of work in the next couple of years. And we have a problem that's going to really force us to think about how we treat each other and how we want to support each other. And I think that's a societal fabric issue that's going to impact us as well.
That's well said. I actually would be grateful if I didn't have to deal with my child being on social media in the next few years. Like if I could let it die on the vine, and would be wonderful. I actually think that my quote unquote prediction, I think people are going to be more analog. Cassettes are coming back. There's a physical touch. People just want to have an iPad. I think people just want a phone that dials numbers. Like
got an original one on the shelf. Do you want to buy it?
You're gonna build your own museum. I love it. So yeah, I think people are. We just got to turn to. My parents have a huge record collection. They're like, take it. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got. I think a lot of that, like you said, like it's almost like after the pandemic, people were like, we've still kept ourselves a little bit isolated. I think people are going to be more like, let's go outside and touch the grass and talk to each other. I hope that for us all. I think it's a great thing you brought up.
These
so
guys,
like
these are like my earbuds when I run. I don't wear them anymore.
Oh, you don't?
I don't wear them anymore when I run, just for that disconnected feeling you're talking about. I prefer the analog.
Yeah, and that's even being outside. Those are the bone ones, right?
Yeah, the bone conductors. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can still hear the world, right? If you're listening to something, and that's pretty awesome. So you've kind of covered a lot of ground here. Like,
it's been a good conversation.
It's a great conversation. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this, and it's like for when I always ask people like the unexpected places you find inspiration, like what's an unexpected, because it's the usual suspects, things we've talked about. What's an unusual place that you found something?
Well, it's funny. I'm doing an AI training this week, and about like it's 8
taking it or giving it. You're taking it or giving it.
Giving it.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's an executive group, and it's 8 to 9 a.m. I get a WhatsApp message from one of the students at 2:30, basically about how they're going to reignite their entire RFP process using the method we talked about, which frankly, I had no intention of pointing them in that direction. I don't know what made it pop in their head, probably just their big problem right now. But they took what we had and they innovated with it and brought it into their own context to create a really good idea and a really smart solution that's been validated by other people in their use cases. And they're going to change the way they're doing business as a result of it. And it'll probably be impactful within 2 weeks. And she was so happy. And I was so happy because I was like, this is exactly why I'm in this. This is exactly why I want to be here. Because I believe this stuff can help us if we can just, kind of remove a few of these barriers and just look at how it can make our lives a bit easier and bring it into our own North Star and our own mission. And if we can do that, we're going to go into a lot of really cool places. I think AI can be really helpful. I think of nonprofits, for example. Oh my God, the ability to be a force multiplier for nonprofits who are terminally unable to hire enough resources to do the work they need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because if you think about the last 25 years when you had to have such brick and mortar and such places and limited amount of the print advertising things you had to do, and then the internet came, you could be virtual, you could raise money. It's just the transformation of that. And that leads me to my favorite thing is the legacy question. So it's all said and done. I'm not talking about like epitaph on a tombstone. It's just more about just kind of like sitting on the beach, life reflecting on things like the books, all the consulting, the marathons. Like how do you want the kind of, and to be remembered, like the things to be remembered, your work, your life?
I think if I could say that I inspired a lot of people to become the best version of themselves that they could be, then I've been successful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think that's all we can ask. So people want to find you because I know there's many places. Where can people get to connect with you and get to know more about your work, what you're doing, and especially the book? And when is it coming out?
So I would say LinkedIn is probably the best place. And my handle on LinkedIn is Geoff Living, GeoffLiving. It'll lead you to all roads. And then I think the book's out in May at this point. I need to really push hard on the chapter by chapter edit that I'm in right now. But I actually, you know what I'm talking about. So I have two phones. One's my real phone, and then the ones with all the social media stuff and all the fun apps. I actually gave my partner, Caitlin, I gave her the phone today, the fun app phone. The second one, I said, don't give this to me until I finish this draft. Take it away.
That's wild. Yeah, it's like you can just put it away, just kind of put it over there and, don't touch it. But we'll put the links to pre-order or like to find out about the book. And I think it's such an important conversation you're having with people and the things you can share. And I think letting people know that you're not feeling weird, but it is a change state that we've got to, address and navigate. So I just want to say, thank you for being a great friend these years, and just I'm so glad to have you on and get to share this with the world.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So all right, well, we'll sign off for now. Thanks.
I appreciate you, sir. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.